皆さん、こんにちは。In this video, we are going to explore the differences between nikui, zurai, and gatai. They all mean that something is difficult to do, but the connotations are different. Let's look at the form first. They all go with the stem form of the verb, like tabe nikui, tabe zurai, shinji gatai. Let's look at nikui. Nikui means physically difficult to do. The difficulty here is objective. You can use this with verbs with intention, which is the actions that you have control over, like taberu or nomu, and the verb without intention, which is the actions that you have no control over, like kawaku, to dry, or futoru, to gain weight. For example, you can say ikinikui or kawakinikui. Zurai means it's difficult to do because of psychological or physical bodily burdens, and the difficulty is subjective. You can only use this with the verbs with the intentions, which means the actions that you have control over. If you say kakizurai, it's difficult to write, maybe because you injured your hand. Yomizurai, it's difficult to read, maybe because you need glasses. Your eyesight isn't good enough. Let's compare nikui and zurai. If you want to say it's hard to eat, you can either say tabe nikui or tabe zurai. We use tabe nikui when the difficulty is objective and physical. For example, if you're trying to eat a crab or a lobster, they're generally difficult to eat because of the shells. In this case, we say tabe nikui. We can use tabe zurai when the difficulty is subjective and it's difficult because of psychological or bodily burdens. For example, if you're trying to eat popcorn and you have denture, then you can say tabe zurai. Or you might have a canker in your mouth, and then you can say tabe zurai. Also, if you had a bad experience with a certain food and you feel like you might get sick if you eat this certain food, then you can say tabe zurai to say it's difficult to eat. Let's look at another example, ikinikui and ikizurai. Suppose that you are going to your friend's house and the way to get there is complicated or the transportation to get there is inconvenient, then the difficulty is objective and physical, so we will use ikinikui. If you had an argument with your friend and psychologically it is hard for you to go to your friend's house, then you will use ikizurai. The difficulty is subjective and it's psychological. Let's compare kinikui and kizurai. If the clothes that you're wearing are too small and too hard to put on, then the difficulty is objective and it's a physical difficulty, so you will say kinikui. If you are going to a formal dinner and the clothes that you're going to wear is not appropriate for the occasion, then the difficulty is subjective and it's a psychological difficulty, so you will say kizurai. Let's look at gatai. This one is a little more formal than the other two, and it means it's difficult to do, not because of my ability, I can do it if I want to, but because of my belief or my feeling. And this is often used as a set phrase. And not every verb will go with this gatai, so I suggest that you will memorize some of the verbs that will go with gatai. For example, shinji gatai, it's hard to believe, not because of my ability, I can believe it if I want to, but because of my feeling or belief, it's hard to believe. Yurushi gatai, it's hard to forgive. I can forgive, but because of my feeling, it's difficult to forgive. Here are some of the verbs that goes with gatai. 理解する to understand, 理解しがたい。認める to admit, 認めがたい。賛成する to agree, 賛成しがたい。耐える to endure, 耐えがたい。言う to say, 言いがたい。Let's do a little practice before we finish. 1番 You are drinking from a cup that is huge. It's hard to drink. Which one would you choose? 飲みにくい or 飲みづらい? The answer is 飲みにくい because the difficulty is physical and it's objective. 2番 You went to your friend's party and you want to leave the party early, but everyone is still enjoying the time and it's hard to leave and be a party pooper. Which one would you use? 帰りにくい or 帰りづらい? The answer is 帰りづらい because it's subjective and psychological. 3番 Your friend told you that he just won a lottery, but it's hard for you to believe it. Which one would you choose? 信じづらい、信じにくい、信じがたい。The answer is 信じがたい。You have an ability to believe, but from a common sense, it's unlikely to win a lottery, so you would say 信じがたい。I hope this helped. またね。